Hey everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of BobBoom. Thanks for tuning in. Recently, I went onto the PlayStation Store since I had this brand new PS4 Pro, and I'm trying to find things to do with it. I need to catch up on a few things. It's not just Yakuza with me. In fact, I haven't even picked up the newest Monster Hunter, even though that's on my to-watch list. I'm gonna hold off because there's too much on my backlog, and right now I'm trying to play Kingdom Come. Just so much stuff. I wanted to give this game an absolute 100% fair shot. Horizon is supposed to be this amazing award winning experience. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, this is going to sound picky. This is going to sound, I guess, a little bit too jaded, but it's an 8 out of 10 for me. This is coming from someone who has already poured in over 50 hours total into it, who's done every single side quest, gotten every single collectible, and even did the DLC and 100% of that. Like, I was on a roll with this game. It does play smoothly. The load times are a little bit long, but anyway, look, I wrote out a few things on this sheet of paper because I wanted to do this a little bit more live. I'm not into scripts or anything like that, but I did jot down a few notes. Now, one of the first things that you notice about Horizon Zero Dawn is the graphics. Apparently, tons of people scream about the graphics, how amazing it looks, and I gotta tell you, yeah, it actually is a fantastic, beautiful looking game. There were quite a few times where I had to stop, kind of change the camera angle just a little bit, and I'm thinking to myself, this is a wallpaper. Like, this wasn't even probably intended to be a wallpaper. This is just a really good area. This is just a really good, a photogenic spot. And I can't fault the game for that. The artwork is phenomenal. The artwork is fantastic. The atmosphere isn't too bad either. You have tons of different locations, and while you're going through the jungle, you hear lots of different birds and leaves and the wind and all this other kind of stuff. The atmosphere graphically is fantastic. You have desert locations, jungle locations, wintry locations, somewhat just generally foresty kind of areas, and they really pump up this wilderness aspect. But at the same time, I'll get into a little bit more of it later. The lighting and the environment is really good. A lot of the lighting showing through the trees, a lot of the shadowing is really good. It really pushed the PlayStation 4 to its limits. Like, I think this is probably as good as the system is going to get. Another thing, the robot designs. The robot designs were fucking amazing. I love giant robots. Giant robots are my peanut butter and jelly. They're my jam. The giant robots look fantastic. There's a giant one that looks like a T-Rex, and it shoots out lasers and all this other kind of stuff. It has massive pieces of armor on it. It has laser guns on its face. It's one of the coolest. I get, like, the 11-year-old in me is screaming at this because there's just so much cool stuff. But at the same time, they missed something, right? If you're gonna have robot T-Rexes and robot Sabertooths, where's my robot Raptors? They even had like a massive robot kind of Brontosaurus, right? It's just this four-legged, long-necked creature, and it walks around in a circle, and you have to climb up on top of them to observe the area, and it opens up kind of like the fog of war on the map. But, like, if you're going to give me some robot dinosaurs, you can't just give me some robot dinosaurs. If you're going to give me some robot dinosaurs, you got to give me all robot dinosaurs. Give me some robo-triceratopses and stuff. Like, really go all out on that. Oh, man. The costumes and the gear, every single character, as far as their general tribal look design, looks fantastic. All of them use like little pieces of the robots in their costume and in their getup as either a headdress or maybe parts of their armor. You kind of get this general idea that these people really do live in this atmosphere. So artistically, a lot of this stuff comes together. Like they really nailed this down to just everything just looking beautiful. But I wasn't going to give them entirely all the credit on graphical, because there's a reason. There's a few reasons why this is more of an 8 out of 10. You can't just base a game on looks. That's the kind of crap that started Gone Home and with its story and stuff. You can't just base a game off of its looks and story. There's more to it. There's more to a game, right? So artistically, the human designs, as far as the actual people themselves, not the costumes, they were boring. The human, like, at the beginning of the game, you're introduced to a somewhat, I guess, manly hunter character, and he raises the main character throughout her life until she kind of becomes of age and wants to become part of the tribe and all this other kind of stuff. And he looks rough. He looks like he's seen shit. He looks like he's lived out in the wild. He looks like he really just, he's been there, done that, right? But then whenever you're playing through the rest of the game, you meet all of these other guys, other than maybe 2 or 3 other male characters and even female characters. They all look weak and limp and light, and they don't look like they've been out in the wild. They all look like city people with paint on their face. Graphically, another negative, the system heat. Now, there's a positive that comes with this. In the game settings, there is the opportunity for you to change between making the game look 4K and as beautiful as possible, or dumbing down some of the graphics on it and making it run in a more performance steady way, which not a whole lot of games to this date have this alternating option, especially on consoles, where you can just change from performance to better graphics. There's a trade-off with that, right? So if you go for better graphics, obviously it's going to generate more heat. Your frames per second is probably going to hurt. It all matters. And fortunately for me, I ran it on the performance setting, and I didn't really actually experience a whole lot of jumps in frames per second. Like, I didn't notice a whole lot of hiccups or anything like that. And I have to applaud them for that. That is optimization at work. Now, the system definitely still did run hot. This fan, every single time that I don't know, play for longer than 3 hours or so, whenever I actually got a chance to sit down and play, that fan was revving. I guarantee you that thing picked up some dust. And it goes to show, though, the game does look fantastic. And again, I'm surprised they got the frames per second down, at least. The FPS didn't really seem like it was suffering too much, even in the big firefights, fighting the giant robot T-Rexes and stuff. It didn't look like it hurt too much. Now, that was all the graphics. Let's move on to the gameplay. Gameplay is one of the things that kind of did hurt it. Gameplay. There's quite a few different weapons. There's different ammo types. There's a lot of different possibilities for you to set up traps and I guess kind of tame the beast. You know, it's not just you with a bow and arrow the whole time. There's tons of different arrow types. There's different kinds of slings. There's different kinds of like rope devices and things like that for you to set traps with. And it excels in that, because a lot of the times if I'm encountering a new enemy or there's a lot, I kind of have to look at the field a little bit, and I'd have to say, okay, well, maybe I want to set a trap here and then wait, and then maybe I want to kill that thing first. And it all comes down to what ammo and what weapons you have available. The different armor types, it was still kind of basic, but they all looked really good. They also had their usability. Like, there were more tanky armor sets, and then there were more stealthy armor sets. The whole game I played with stealthy because the AI really wasn't all that good. And the robot fights, even out of stealth, I still felt like I could take them on. There's a lot of different health potions. Like, I think you carry up to like 12 regular health pots and then 12 full life health pots, and then you also have the health regen from you gathering like medicinal herbs and stuff like that out on the field. So I never really felt like I was too much in danger. But the robot fights and the boss fights, they really just like any time that I felt like I was fighting a boss, I really did feel like I was fighting a boss. Like, this thing is definitely going to destroy me. There were quite a few times in this game, even with how much shit talking I'm doing with the stealth suit and how many health pots I have, these guys were gonna like two-shot. You know, the T-Rex guy, he flails his tail, does like 3/4 of my HP because I couldn't dodge it in time. I'm not saying this is the Dark Souls of Sony PlayStation or any crap like that, but it did have its moments where it felt kind of tough. I definitely did die once or twice. Unfortunately, though, when it comes to gameplay, like I said, here's some negatives. You got a very simple detective mode. Now, if you played Batman Arkham Asylum or Batman Arkham City or anything like that, you know how you press the button and he kind of goes into X-ray mode and specific things are highlighted and there's not really any work to be done. That is in this game. You press R3 and stuff is just highlighted for you. Like, okay, well, hey, look, I came to this murder scene. I need to figure out what's going on. All you do is just press R3 and it just highlights every possible thing that you need to look at. And you move on from there. It almost seemed pointless. It almost seemed like it was in there just to kind of give the character some dialogue, to kind of make her seem like she's really smart and she knows what she's doing. But really, without that R3, she'd probably be lost. Now, I'm a guy who's played Phoenix Wright games. I'm a guy who's played Professor Layton games. I'm used to kind of figuring things out for myself. And they kind of threw that under the bus. Like, the main character is shown a lot of situations where she needs to solve these, I guess, strange, like, mysteries. Like, oh no, somebody went missing, or somebody stole something, or somebody got killed in this area. How did they get killed? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, just press R3 and everything for that side quest is pretty much highlighted. The broken AI is another negative for gameplay. Now, as I said earlier with stealth, the AI is not that great. The robot AI tends to go in its own paths, and every now and again, it kind of knows too much. Like, it's either too dumb or too smart. When it's too dumb, it can look you straight in the face while you're inside a bush. I mean, we're talking like 2 feet away, and then go, whatever, I guess there was nothing here. And then they go walking away, but the second that one of them gets alerted, they don't have walkie-talkies or anything like that. The second one of them gets alerted, the whole camp of bandits gets alerted. The second one of the robots gets alerted, the whole batch of robots gets alerted. With the robots, it makes a little bit more sense, because at least they have wireless communication, you know, whatever. I'm not trying to nitpick here. You really have to, I guess, play it to see where I'm coming from. But when you're hiding in a bush, and you lob out a single, like, I guess, explosive, and it hits them, at first you're like, oh, yeah, well, I don't know what the fuck that was, and then you look around for a little bit, and then you go to another position, but they're still kind of in that alert phase, and you lob out another explosive, they're immediately alerted, even though you changed position. They're immediately alerted to where you're at, and then the whole group knows. It seemed like it was a little bit too much. Random loot from kills and hunts. Now, this did encourage me to, I guess, kill larger creatures and things like that. This encouraged me to kind of like go out there and, I guess, hunt more robots and stuff like that. But like all games that have very, very slight loot systems in them, it's random. So, like, I could spend, you know, 5-10 minutes fighting a giant T-Rex, maybe less, depends on how lucky you are with some of your hits, and all of the loot from it could be completely useless, and I go sell it, and I maybe make like $150. By the end game, I had like 25,000 bucks, if not more. I say bucks, but they use metal shards. You get what I'm saying. And they have, speaking of loot chances, in-game loot boxes. Now, I was not a fan of this. I'm not a fan of the loot box system ever. To be fair, it uses in-game currency and in-game currency only, but at the same time, I don't like that. There's this object in the game that's like 1350. 1,350 metal shards. and you buy them from any vendor, and there's a random chance that when you open it, it has something useful in it. Hell, it could be shit. It doesn't matter. There's just a random chance that it's something good. Now, you could, of course, do the gamble, but when I go to a digital vendor, and especially like early to mid game, when I don't have that kind of exposable or disposable income, why do this? Like, this is just a way to convince me to farm. And I didn't want to farm. I didn't want to spend it on any of that, because there's more odds than anything that I'm going to get something completely useless. And trust me, I did it quite a few times just to test, just to see. Let's see. It's a collectathon. Like I said, when I got all the collectibles, I looked at every single artifact. I looked at every single viewpoint. I got every single metal flower, which is just another kind of collectible. There's not as many. Like, this is coming from a guy who played Arkham City or Arkham Knight, and I got all 200 and something Riddler trophies. Yeah. Oh yeah, I did it, buddy. I got it. And that was bad. That was definitely bad. But this is at least a little bit on the low end. It's not too bad. I'm just not a fan of just running around and collecting things. You're making me go to these random areas that have no relevance for the sake of just adding an area and maybe put a few enemies there. Like, that's it. It doesn't add any depth to the game. It doesn't make this game any better, but it doesn't inherently make it worse. I'm still putting it down kind of a bit as a negative. I know that comes off as nitpicky to some of you, but it's not something like I look forward to. Can I put it to you like that? I don't look forward to running around and collecting things. I don't think anyone really does, unless you count the Pokemon people. 1/3 of the skill tree is completely useless. You have to invest a lot of points. Well, eventually, late game, you have enough points. The entire skill tree is filled out anyway, but you have abilities like being able to jump off your mount to attack an enemy. Well, I never used that once, but that took 3 skill points to do. You have abilities where you have a better loot chance, or you have a better chance of getting more useful items from a corpse. That's good. I like those. Or you have an ability that is able to make your spear do more damage, or to take a chunk of a robot's armor off after every hit. Like, okay, sure, that's fine. That's an actual skill. But when it came to actual, like, regular things the character should know and should know how to do, I don't see why I'm investing points into it. There's one of the abilities where if you're holding onto a ledge, you're able to pull the guy down and kill him that way. So if he comes walking up to the ledge and he's all like, oh, what's over this way? And you're able to make him fall and, fall to his death. Why did I have to invest skills into this? This is not like a complex ability. Man, I got quite a few things. Story is the next one. The story, the main character story, is great. The main story was actually really good. Spoiler alert. All of humanity 300,000 years ago totally fucked up, and Skynet won. Skynet absorbed almost all of the biomass on the planet. That includes trees, animals, people, etc. And the very last of humankind decided to create a cloning project that would eventually repopulate the planet, and they created an AI that would kind of help manage the ecosystem on the planet after everything's eventually died out. Okay, sorry for the spoiler, but that's really like what's going on. I didn't want to tell you anything else though. There's a lot more to it. But I gotta tell you, the starting area is pretty boring. You have no interest in saving these people whatsoever. You are essentially an outcast from the main tribe in the starting area. Your character doesn't know why. I'm not going to spoil why. And eventually you're supposed to rescue all of these people and save them from their damnation and all this other kind of stuff. And you just don't care about them. You don't feel invested into any of these people. They pretty much made an entire religion based off of the machines and how complex the AI is. The game doesn't, the game story doesn't show, I guess, the meat until about halfway through. So the very beginning of the game, like I said, you just don't feel invested into the main area. You're told to like expand away from the main area, and finally when you do take, I guess, control of what the main character is supposed to be understanding, you're kind of understanding things at the same pace that she's understanding things. That's finally the point where you're just like, okay, I want to figure out more. But for the first half of the game, where she's just like, I don't know what I'm doing because that questions, like, well, yeah, this is kind of lame. The side quests are kind of the same way. Other than a handful of side quests, including the DLC, I felt completely uninterested. These side quests were kind of boring. In fact, very predictable. There was one side quest where some lady was like, oh no, my house estate has been attacked by robots and everyone has been killed. Could you please figure out why? And all of a sudden, like right after I talked to her, her evil, greedy brother shows up and is saying, grr, I'm the one who got everyone killed using this device that attracts the robots because I want all of the estate to myself. She's like, grr, you're evil. Then a robot comes and kills him. Oh, the irony. Whoa, didn't see that coming. You see what I'm saying? Like, the side stories were just so spoon-fed that I shared no interest in it. Like, okay, here's my loot and experience, thanks, moving on to the next one. Like, if I go into a town and I see one, oh, my husband went missing in this location, could you find him? Well, guess what ends up happening? You go over to the area, there's evidence here that suggests something bad happened to him. Better press R3 so it'll just tell me where to go. Just not the best feeling. The Hunter Lodge. Now, a friend pointed this out to me. She was actually on her second playthrough of this. She loved this game more than I do because she did everything in the game the first time and then decided to do it a second time. God bless ya. I don't have the patience for that. But she was right about one thing. The Hunter Lodge is not fleshed out enough. Now, the Hunter Lodge is this small portion of the game that is actually a side story where essentially, hey, you got to show your stuff and show that you're number one in this, I guess, hunter's hobby, right? Now, normally, you're hunting robots to kind of survive, whereas the Hunter's Lodge, they do it for sport. So they're like, oh, hey, wow, you killed one of these things? That's pretty good, but did you kill one of these? And it's really short. Like, it's incredibly short, where you go from maybe about 3 quests to finish. So you start, hey, you want to join the Hunter's Lodge? Okay, bring some trophies. All right, thanks for the trophies. Hey, can you prove yourself one more time? You prove yourself one more time, and then finally you go and help them kill a really big thing, and now all of a sudden you're one of the best in the Hunter's Lodge. There could have been so much more to that. If this was a little bit more, I guess, rank-driven, I guess with a little bit more of me knowing more about the Hunter's Lodge and maybe fleshing it out a bit more as far as different prizes and different characters and stuff, I would have loved that. I like the idea of the Hunter's Lodge. It's a little bit Monster Hunter-y. Go for that. But for some reason, they skimped short on that, and I don't understand why. Moving on to the sound. Sound. The machine sounds fantastic. You hear all the creaks. You hear all of the whirring and the laser effects. All the machine sounds and weapon sounds. They're fantastic. All of the fights sounded fantastic. The music and the tone that the music set was fantastic. Sometimes, though, here's the negative for sound, the voice acting is just really uninspired. I can't entirely fault this game as something that's bad. This game is definitely buyable. I got it on sale with DLC for $30, and I gotta tell you, I got my entertainment out of it. As you can tell, I did all of the collectibles, all of the side quests, the main story, the DLC, and all of its collectibles and side quests. There are parts of this game I really did like, but it's not this perfect 10 out of 10 experience that so many people are trying to hype up. To summarize, the main story's good. Graphically, it's fantastic and probably some of the best that you're going to get on the PlayStation. I'm actually impressed that it ran so well on the hardware that it is. The sound is generally really good, but the gameplay, other than setting up traps, just feels broken. The AI is broken. There's collectibles and loot boxes. Why are there loot boxes? It wasn't just for the ones you could buy from the vendor, by the way. Like, you get 10,000 different kinds of loot boxes. Good God. And it's all just completely random. The R3 was one that just kind of came as something really aggravating. And then the story, just a boring starting area, a village I'd never cared for with characters I don't feel invested in. It's just, I want to be fair on this. I'm not trying to show any kind of bias. I don't care that this is a Sony game. I don't care that 10,000 other people have generally given it 10 out of 10s. I don't care who else has rated this. I'm suggesting, though, that if you see this on sale, pick it up. I would say think about picking it up. I got it for $30 and I got over 50 hours full gameplay on it. I'd say for $30, that's a steal.